Promptly beginning at 3:30 p.m. Mountain Time. It is orange and blue today. It is Cecil Lammey. It is Andrew Mason. It is the final day. This day always feels weird, Mace, because it is the last day of this team being together. We know that the next time the Broncos are together and the next time that you and I are in the locker room with those players, there'll be a lot of those players that are different. So today is always kind of it's a sad feeling. You kind of almost say goodbye, wink, wink, nod, nod to certain players. Dalton Reisner. Anyway.
Yeah. Were you there, by the way, at the end of the open locker room? So were you were part of the, basically it was almost like a receiving line at the wedding where everyone was kind of lined up to shake hands. And I think Dalton hugged everybody.
Yes.
At least in my, the two people before me, two people after me, he gave me a hug as well. Like said, stay in touch and all that. It very much like the press conference last Thursday, where he kind of lapsed into past tense when talking about his time with the Broncos. I think he's got his arms wrapped around the notion that he's played his last game for his home state team. Again, the weird thing is, Cease, new coach, could watch the film, look at the free agent landscape and say, well, I don't think we can find better than Dalton on the market. Let's try to bring him back. But right now, if you were making a prediction, you'd say he's probably practicing his craft elsewhere, maybe up in Minnesota with his old friend Chris Cooper coaching the O-line up there.
Yeah, maybe the new staff brings Mike Munchak back, and Munchak is like, I want Dalton Reisner back. So
that could be something in play as well. Or wherever Munchak goes, because there have been reports that Sean Payton has Mike Munchak in mind to be his offensive line coach wherever he lands. So it's very much kind of a stay tuned thing. But we know how Munchak is connected to Denver. We know how much he'd like to be here. I have said it on record. I think you've expressed similar sentiments. Whoever the next Broncos coach is, one of the first calls should be to Mike Munchak to try to get him on staff.
Yes, try to beg him, plead, would do whatever. We're sorry. We're all sorry, Mike. Can we pitch in, get him back? Something, a little bonus.
Yeah, call number 1, Mike Munchak. Call number 2, Jerry Rosberg as assistant head coach / special teams coach. Yes. And it's a question of whether Jerry would want to do it. But
it sounds like, just from the buzz that I've gathered, Mace, and you can tell me what you've heard, but I've heard he doesn't want to even return as a special teams coach.
Yeah, I think realistically, I think the most you're probably going to get out of him is consultant.
I'm okay with that.
Consultant working from afar, maybe doing some film breakdowns, being kind of on call, but he's pretty committed to the life he has pursued after coaching, which was, of course, working with Next Gen Hyperbaric. Of course, that being said, that work has him in Colorado quite a bit anyway, because they're based up, I believe they're based, up in Avon, if I'm not mistaken, right around there. So, maybe something is doable. I would look, if you can get Jerry Rosberg as a consultant just to watch your special teams film and offer some pointers, great, do it. I mean, whatever it takes. But ultimately, it's up to Jerry. It's going to be Jerry's call, because I think in that building, they would love to have Jerry Rosberg around in some capacity.
You or I were there with Greg Dulcich when he said they were chanting Jerry, Jerry, Jerry after the game and after the win. And I know it doesn't mean anything, but it means something, Mace. It means we feel good on a Monday. It means even though on a sad day when we're clearing out the locker room at Dove Valley, it's still like there's some good feelings, because whether it was KJ Hamler or Lloyd Cushenberry or all the guys that spoke today, there's talent here. We know that. And honestly, these two games kind of make me mad a little bit, Mace, because I'm like, what the hell would have happened if you had an adult in the room the whole time?
Oh,
would we be talking playoffs? I'd say we'd be talking playoffs.
I mean, the whole season, yeah. And I think that's why we'll get into the coaching search in a bit. But I do think it's interesting that there is a name from last year's search on the list. And of course, it's somebody with whom George Payton has a lot of familiarity. That's Dan Quinn. But Dan Quinn was also the only head coaching candidate for the Broncos last year who had prior head coaching experience. This year, the list so far 4 of the 6 have prior head coaching experience. Okay. I think not so much Pate, but I think this is on an ownership level, having experienced this season, having seen what's happened, saying, all right, you know what? We tried it with the first timer. Let's get somebody in here who's done it before and has some gravitas. Even though Jerry Rosburg hadn't done it before, certainly he had the career's worth of experience and knowledge. You're looking for a different type of coach, a different presence. Dare I say, this is going to be a coach. I think I would be surprised if this coach is not on the upper side of age 50. Whereas this past year, Nathaniel Hackett and most of his staff all 45 and younger. I think it's going to, except for Dom Capers and then another consultant who was on call, Bill Kolar, who officially steps away from the Broncos and football today. Like he got the game ball yesterday, and now his run is done. But I think this is going to look a little bit different, especially at the top of the staff. It's going to be somebody, as John Fox would say, that has skins on the wall. And frankly, I think the players are going to welcome that after this year. There were some interesting things said in the locker room, including Albert O talking about how communication was an issue early this season when things were going south. Remember, his playing time was dropping before Greg Dulcich got off injured reserve. It wasn't strictly a function of, Dulcich is up, Alberto can't play. He was down to only a handful of snaps by the time he got to the 4th and 5th game. I think he played 1 snap in Las Vegas, if I'm not mistaken, in game 4. And Greg Dulcich wasn't back in the lineup for 15 more days. So he talked about communication as an issue in terms of not really knowing kind of what was going on. And I think that's something when you're writing the epitaph on the Nathaniel Hackett era, he's a personable person. And I think he probably did a very good job explaining the why of tactics, but clearly something was missing in explaining the why, to at least to Albert O, of why playing time was going down. And that's just as important.
Well, Justin Outten certainly didn't do his best friend any service by making this team look good over the last 2 games. Justin Outten, for 2 games in a row, man, put together a really good game plan. And that was kind of the field for me, Mace, today, was you got the players that know they're going to be here, because you have players that don't know. But the players that know they were better than their record indicates. And maybe that's a cop-out or whatever, but that's God's honest truth with this team.
They know it, and I think for them, it gives them a good feeling for the offseason that everybody saw it, right? That team, even with 12 of 22 positions in the starting 22 manned by backups by the end of the season, they played well. I mean, even with all the injuries, Cecil, you can't tell me that if let's just say Jerry Rosburg had been the coach all season instead of Nathaniel Hackett, that team wins 9 or 10 games.
Yeah.
Even with everything. The team that we saw yesterday, you look back and you can look at some games, would have been good enough to beat the Colts at home. Would have been good enough to finish against the Seahawks, because for dad, I'm sure that they wouldn't have been settling for a 64-yard, field goal attempt. 46 left hash, that wouldn't have been in play. It would have been, let's get this thing to the 30. All right, let's give B-Mac a really good shot.
Right.
The Chargers game, the Titans game, the Ravens game, 10-9 loss by the narrowest of margins. Maybe even the Chiefs game at home, Cease. I mean, maybe, or even if a move had been made to put Jerry Rosburg in at midseason, maybe that would have been enough to get them at least where the final week we were still talking about a chance at the playoffs. Maybe you lose on a tiebreak, whatever. But
be like the Steelers,
right,
hey, you did a respectable job, and you just missed out.
Don't they feel great right now?
Yeah.
I mean, as great as you can feel missing the playoffs. And I think if you could have, if you'd made it, let's say you finished 9-8, and you know what? Entirely possible. If the Broncos lose in London, I believe they would have fired Nathaniel Hackett right then and there. So you're 2-6. You make a coaching change. Let's assume it's good old Jer Bear. I think they would have been 8-8 going into that last game. And who knows?
Yep.
And oh, by the way, I think in that 8-8, they would have stopped the streak to the Chiefs. I think they would have beaten them at home. I certainly don't believe they would have fallen into a 27-0 hole the way they did. So you changed everything, right? And then the whole thing would be even more of a clamor, like, oh, maybe Jerry Rosburg should be the head coach, But
yeah, and I know a lot of fans are saying that, but it's probably going to be somebody else. And Mel brings up the fact that Hackett was 75% of the issues. Put a percentage on it, Mace, and I even said it because I told you I would when I was on coffee break with D. You were in the background waiting to come on as well that Friday or Tuesday, sorry. But I was just like, I'll fight you because it wasn't Russell Wilson. Like, Russell Wilson needs to play better. I'm not letting Russell Wilson off the hook, but damn it, if we all can't see what percentage Hackett was of the problem, it was a large percentage.
It was large. He was in over his head. It's rough because he's a genuinely nice person. This isn't Josh McDaniels. I mean, McDaniels came in. Hurricane Josh was basically a jerk. They're very much good riddance to Josh McDaniels. That's not the case with Nathaniel Hackett at all. I think he's a very good man who was very in over his head. And the last 2 weeks and how much change Jerry Rosburg was able to affect in such a short time when the team was long since eliminated from the postseason. I mean, I think it made the Hackett tenure look worse. That's why I wrote the piece that I did over at denversports.com. I mean, now I think we know that Hackett was problem number one. It doesn't mean that Russell Wilson wasn't a problem. Okay.
Exactly.
Look, when you're 5-12, I almost said 4-13. When you're 5-12, there's a lot of fingerprints on it, right? It's not just the coach, but who had the biggest and the most fingerprints on it? I'd say it's Hackett, and then you probably fall in with Russell Wilson. And I think the Wilson that a new coach works with this coming year sees is going to be a different player and maybe even a different person in some ways than this past year. I think he mentioned it yesterday. He's been humbled a little bit. And if you aren't humbled by 5-12 in the worst season of your career, something's wrong. But it was good. It amidst the blizzard of words and platitudes that Russ gives. I think he spoke for 30 minutes yesterday after the game. But there were some things that showed that he's been taken down a peg by the experience of the 2022 Broncos. But at the same time, this is still a community and a fan base that believes in him. Listen to how the crowd was cheering yesterday. Listen to how he was getting cheered as he went back through the tunnel after the game.
Mm-hmm.
This fan base, and there were still a lot of number 3 jerseys in the stands. This fan base, these people want to believe, right? Give them hope. Give them reason to believe. And Russ will have this town eating out of his hand if he can turn it around.
Yeah, and NFL Comeback Player of the Year next year. Yeah, it's quite possible. And all the misconceptions about Russ, I do believe he was humbled. I do believe he will have a different approach. But damn it, Mace, it always pisses me off when people are like, Russ is such a me guy. I'm like, no, Russ is a yes, sir, no, sir. Tell him what to do and he'll do it. Let him have free reign. Let him in week 1 insist on running his plays and not have a backbone. Hackett, you're going to get this. Like, tell him what to do and he'll do it. Tell him how to play and he'll play it that way. Like, structure a better fit. The dirty secret in the NFL, always about fit. So yes, Hackett was part of the problem. Yes, Wilson was part of the problem, but the fit, the largest problem was the fit between those two. And God bless Nathaniel Hackett. You said it weeks ago. It's just a poor fit with Wilson.
Yeah, it is. And yet the guy that Nathaniel Hackett brought in as his lieutenant, Justin Outten, proved to be a pretty good fit there in the end.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple of weeks, I think with Hackett calling the plays and Clint Kubiak there on the sideline, that worked. That arrangement worked. Now, you're probably going to blow things up, obviously, but I look schematically at what the Broncos did the last 2 weeks, schematically, formationally, personnel groupings. Let's live in the universe for a moment where it's Jim Harbaugh that comes out here. And there are some reports saying that Jim Harbaugh really wants to become the head coach of the Denver Broncos. If there was a report in the Athletic today regarding that. If that happens, you might be able to get Greg Roman, his old offensive coordinator from San Francisco, now with Baltimore.
Oh yeah,
and I know Baltimore fans right now don't think very highly of Greg Roman. But I think Roman could put together an offense that works that works perfectly for Russell Wilson. He's got to be willing to embrace it. But I think it could flourish, and I think we could see elements like we saw yesterday. I mean, I love seeing the two backs offsetting Wilson in the shotgun. I love seeing the borderline wing T formation in the backfield. There were a couple of pistol looks yesterday. I mean, I like seeing all that. There was a dynamic quality to how things worked that had been missing. Maybe the only critique that I have is maybe went to the reverse well a little bit too often with Jerry Jeudy, got a little bit too cute a couple of times. But that's a minor quibble. I'm happy they're using Jeudy like that. See some of those plays that we saw yesterday from that offense. If you recall Seattle 2013, Percy Harvin with Russell Wilson, there were some echoes there. And by the way, the other thing, they established the run and they stuck with it. They kept with the run. The run set up the deep shots.
Hey,
hallelujah! And that's another thing. I compared Nathaniel Hackett's play calling at times to a 12-year-old on speed playing Madden, right? Because it was just all over the place. Rip,
right.
Rip, rip. If this offense is going to work, it's got to have callbacks, patterns, echoes. It's got to set things over the course of a game, right? You got to be patient with it. We haven't talked about Justin Outten much. As I was telling our fearless leader, Raj, down the hall a couple hours ago, Justin Outten has his resume tape, right? It's the before and the after. This is what it looked like before. This is what it looked like with me. If I can do this in 2 weeks, what can I do if you give me an off season to install things and run it my way? Justin Outten might have just, in the last 2 weeks, Justin Outten, I think, went from somebody who was a punchline among some in this community. Not me. I like Justin personally. I had some nice conversations with him. I think he, like Hackett, he's a really good dude. But I think Justin Outten might have brought himself into, maybe not immediately, but down the line into the conversation of becoming some team's play caller and working his way up that way. I think he's got some chops there, Cecil.
Yeah, for sure. And he was a punching bag for me. I'll be honest. Yeah. I never said anything good about Justin Outten because it was like Office Space. Like, what would you say you do here? And then
he should have been doing more. They should have had him doing more based on what we saw the last couple of games.
Exactly. And I would not put him in front of the press because I don't think he's real good at press conferences because it's like we just didn't have that many plays when you ran 36 plays in the second half. So
okay, I'm gonna make a correct thing on Justin Outten. I thought he was much better in front of the media as a play caller. I think part of it was, especially after Kubiak got the play calling responsibilities, it was like, what was he doing up here? Like, I felt like he was, I personally, I started asking him questions more about individual players because I thought that's where he could give good answers. And I thought also that's kind of where he excelled, but he was getting questions about scheme and play disbursement and all that, and it's like, no, that's not what they're asking this guy to do right now. And unfortunately, he probably is feeling pretty lousy about the fact that he's got the OC title and not the OC responsibilities. So
yeah. Well, it's amazing what happens when you give people responsibility. Like these coaches to get there, and I know there's a good old boy network. Trust me, there is. Okay, there's absolutely nepotism, good old boy. However you want to paint the picture in the NFL coaching circles, it's not a meritocracy the way Vic Fangio misspoke a couple years ago, and he was talking about that. Not in the coaching circles, but there are some of these coaches. Damn it, they get there because they're smart, and they get there because they're good. And Justin Otten's proven over the last couple of games, like, hey, give him more to do and watch the results. People asking in the chat room, Tom, any chance Outten keeps the OC job? Probably not.
Probably not. I mean, it depends on the head coach. And the other thing is, I mean, I think you could easily ask him to be a position coach under an OC, but is he going to want that, or is he going to want to take his chances somewhere else? That's the key. Now, the thing is, though, there may not be kind of a perfect landing spot for him somewhere, because Nathaniel Hackett's not going to be anybody's head coach anytime soon. But I mean, I'll just toss something out there, okay? From the creativity I saw the last couple of games, the creativity, but also the commitment to the run and making things easier for a quarterback. We're hearing rumors about Vance Joseph being potentially a favorite down in Arizona in the wake of firing Cliff Kingsbury. There's not a connection there, but I could see Justin Outten working really well with Kyler Murray. When Kyler Murray comes back from the ACL, I could see some things that could help Kyler in elements of what the Broncos were doing on Sunday. So,
can I give you another one?
We're
just going to toss it out there.
Yeah.
I'll throw out the Titans, who just fired Todd Downing.
Ooh. They got to figure out quarterback, though. I mean, do you think they're going to try to bleed one more year out of Tannehill?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
They probably don't have a better option right now, unless somehow Mike Vrabel could convince Tom Brady to join his ex-Pats teammates. Let's buddy up here. But yeah, I don't think that's happening. And we did see, by the way, Tannehill is a guy that's gotten a lot of crap in the last 12 months. I think he's more important to the Titans than anybody wanted to realize, because they kept that train on the tracks without Derrick Henry last year, without Ryan Tannehill off the rails into the culvert. Tannehill's better than anyone realized, I think, and that is probably their best bet for trying to make a quick return, because hey, they can be a playoff team next year easily. It's a quick bounce back. The thing is, though, that team in Jacksonville is going to get better and better. They are. I think whatever happens next week, I think this is just the beginning for the Jaguars, and that's another problem for the Broncos, because you're looking at another rising AFC power in a conference that just seems stacked with them at this point. I mean. Yeah, where Buffalo's not going anywhere. Cincinnati's not going anywhere. Kansas City's not going anywhere. I mean, really, the only thing that's helping the Broncos is that the Chargers underachieved with Justin Herbert at quarterback. I mean, by the way, that's a coaching situation to watch in the next week. If they go down to Jacksonville and lose that. There's some frustration developing in that building over not maximizing the rookie contract window of Justin Herbert.
Right. You can't wait. You can't build up. There's no ramp up. Once you figure out you have that guy, and they should have figured it out pretty soon, you should have been in 2 Super Bowls by now instead of just getting bounced. They might even win the game against Jacksonville and still bounce daily. It happened with Mike Mularkey of Tennessee.
I mean, what did the Chiefs do? They maximized Pat Mahomes' rookie window, right? They got to 2 Super Bowls during Patrick Mahomes' rookie contract. Seattle, let's go back to Russell Wilson. They got to 2 Super Bowls when Russ was on his rookie deal, right? Cincinnati has made a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow on his rookie deal, and it would surprise nobody if they do it again this time around. So did you hear what Herbert said, by the way? What?
Somebody talked about their playoff window. He said, the length of my career.
Okay.
I love it. I love the kid's bravado.
I love the chutzpah that Justin Herbert has. But at the same time, he's going to be making $40 million or more, likely more than that. And it's simple mathematics. You're not going to be able. I mean, you look at that team that they had out there yesterday. Joey Bosa. Did I mix my Bosas up? No, I got it right.
No, you got it right.
Yeah, I always Nick
Nick Bosa, in San Francisco, Nick Joey in LA.
Joey in LA. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James, Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler. You are not going to have that constellation of stars forever, okay? Because eventually, like 2 of those guys, you're going to have to walk away from because you're trying to pay Justin Herbert. And oh, by the way, you're going to be paying a tackle here in Rashawn Slater in a couple of years, right? So it's not always going to be like this. They're blowing it like that. That's why when I keep watching the Chargers, I'm like, you're blowing this, dudes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, they're not a cash-rich organization, which is what may give Dean Spanos pause. But I mean, he's got to realize that they are truly screwing this up, and the cost control window is closing fast. It's one more year of cost control, and actually now they're at the point they need to be talking about extension anyway, because you're going into year 4 and then the 5th year option beyond that, and you don't want to let this become like a dance of saying, oh, we're picking up the 5th year option, blah 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 blah. They got to figure that out. Cincinnati's got to figure that out too, but at least Cincinnati's been to a Super Bowl with Joe Burrow,
right?
And they won another division title this year, so they are doing a better job of maximizing their window than the Chargers are.
Final day of the year, which means futures contract times. The Broncos signed 9 of them: Victor Bolden, Parker Ferguson, Faion Hicks, Delonte Hood, Devin Key, Tyreek McAllister, Wyatt Ray, Hunter Thedford, and Ray Wilborn. So there you go. And some of the names we already know from just being around for a while now. And Victor Bolden, Tyreek McAllister stand out to me. Faion Hicks, we talked about it in the locker room today. Corner may not be as much of a problem with the young play or the play of youngster Jaquin McMillan, who did a really good job yesterday. Corner, maybe some better options than people would think.
Yeah, Faion Hicks is one to watch. I think he pushes for the backup nickel next year. I think he may kind of push Isang Bassi out there with another year that he has to develop. But you start looking around, and K'Wan Williams has got another year on his contract at slot corner. You like Damari Mathis and what he did, and he missed the game because of a concussion. PS2, it's obvious. And then you look at depth. Ronald Darby all of a sudden is in an interesting spot. Now, he has the injury, so it's not as simple as cutting him to get some cap relief. It'd be an injury settlement. But you always need 4 corners, right? You always do. So I think we could be talking about a Graham Glasgow-like contract situation here for Ronald Darby, where they take that money, bump up the guarantee, give him some incentives that are reasonably reachable, and that's probably a better deal than he may be able to get going out there on the market right after he tore ACL. And if you can do that, then I think cornerback becomes a position where, unless somebody falls in your lap in the draft value-wise, you say, yeah, we're good. In fact, if we're sitting there making the list of needs on the roster seats, corner might be at the bottom right now of what the Broncos need in terms of the quality they have and the depth they have. Remember, they thought enough of these of young guys like Tyreek McAllister, like even Faion Hicks, certainly like Damari Mathis, to say, Michael Ojemudia, see ya. Let him go.
Yep.
It says a lot of what they thought of what else they had on the roster.
Now, we've gotten a lot of questions, Mace, as we tie a bow on today's program. Like, what's going to happen to Orange and Blue today? It's every day.
Yeah, we may take. Yeah, basically, I think we may take some time off as we get toward the summer post OTA.
Well, you and I will take July off. We'll see if they still do a show or if we just take a little sabbatical for 3 weeks. But
this show isn't going away. I mean, look. I was thinking about this today. Off season, what off season? I mean, I was showing you kind of a content schedule for the off season. I mean, it's ridiculous. We're pretty well covered. You're going to do a lot of individual profiles. We're going to tell you about sleepers. We're going to tell you about best fits for the Broncos in the draft. We'll tell you who to watch for. You and I are going to have our eyes on everybody at the Shrine and the Senior. We're going to, here at denversports.com, we're going to be at the combine. We're going to be at the league meetings. We're going to be all over free agency. This is just ramping up now. So yeah, I believe it has been said many times at this company over the years, there is no off season for talking Broncos.
Yeah, I don't know if we're supposed to say that anymore, but yes.
What?
There's never an off season. Never not. We can bring it back.
Yes.
Until Raj tells me not to say it. On this show, we can bring it back. See, because we're Orange and Blue today.
And Orange and Blue today, there is never an off season for talking Broncos and disseminating Broncos. Yes, so that's what we're here for. And we'll have some road shows as well. I mean, it's going to be cool. You and I out in Las Vegas, down in Mobile,
and just think in your travels, Mace, were some of the pro days you might get to go to, because I'll be at Laramie again. So I'll be at the local pro days, but Mace, you might get to some pro days and other places too.
My tentative plan, we'll get the schedule here in the next few weeks, but yeah, I'd like to make it over to make it over to Minnesota, over to Illinois, maybe make it down even to Ohio State. If the Broncos were in the QB market, I'd be down at Kentucky watching Will Levis, but I'm not sure I can rationalize that, but you're going to have it covered up in Laramie and around here. I'm going to have it covered in the Midwest. So,
they might be taking a Big Ten offensive lineman. So there you go.
I've got a feeling that Iowa City is going to be a stop on this off-season circus here at Orange and Blue today. So that's just the little birdies, little intel, what we know. But
okay. There you go.
Broncos like their Hawkeyes. Of course, Broncos also like their Badgers too. It's not really a great year for Badger talent, but something tells me they'll take a day 3 pick on a guy from Wisconsin. They're
taking a Badger on day 3, everybody.
Yes. So. You're still trying to keep Russ happy a little bit, I guess. But also don't forget, George Payton is still running the show, and Payton's antenna is definitely pointed toward the Midwest.
Yes.
And in particular, the upper Midwest. So
very much so.
Yes.
Very much so. Come for the Broncos information. Stay for the Lassie Barks. It is Orange and Blue today. It is Cecil Lammey. It is Andrew Mason, and it is draft season. Hallelujah. The angels are singing today. It is draft season. We appreciate you all so very much for watching this show. Tune in every day, Monday through Friday, 3:30. Have some special shows for you. It's all good, baby. We're here. We made it. And Broncos fans, you should have hope. Yes, we're here for you. So have hope. Maintain that hope. Well, let's go get it, right? Let's go Broncos. Follow Andrew Mason on Twitter at Mace Denver. I'm at Cecil Lammey. Don't follow me. We are Orange and Blue today, everyone. As always, I was studying my mudras, Mace. Do you know what mudras are for yoga, the hand positioning? Different hand positions?
I know Daryl Mudra, the coach of Florida State many years ago.
Okay, I'll bore you with some yoga stuff a little bit later. But anyway, be safe, be kind, know that you are appreciated. Stay tuned, and as always, please stay frosty.